1982, January 4th. I stopped opening my telephone bills months ago. Still, they scream at me from the cabinet over the sink where I keep them. The last bill I paid was in late summer, and because the envelope that arrived today was light, I opened it. Light envelopes mean they've had it. The letter inside said that if I didn't pay them $65 by tomorrow, they would take their phone away. I called to negotiate, and the woman scolded me. "Why on earth don't you pay monthly?" "I don't know," I pleaded. And she gave me until Thursday the 7th. By then, I'll have enough for the phone and nothing toward my already late rent. I wonder why the rent and the bill situation always has to be so desperate. Then I realized I made it desperate. I am desperate. I saw an ad in the paper for a waiter at the Capitol Club. I didn't apply because if they hired me, I'd have to miss All Things Considered every night. Plus, I don't have the outfit to apply in or the look. When I lived in San Fran, I was just as desperate. So desperate, I applied for a waiter job at the place called Henry Africa's. You had to be 21 to wait tables. I wasn't, but lied and said I was. The guy in charge told me to come back tomorrow with my birth certificate. He was dressed in a safari outfit. January 8th. I spent the day crawling underneath the Ewing house, trying to think of one good thing to say about it. For a while, hunched over my hands and knees, I used a rake to collect trash. Among my findings were two pornographic novels without their covers. They were from the late 50s and pretty tame by today's standards. One of them had black and white pictures of women in it. Mainly it showed their bosoms. Under each picture was a short photograph, the author trying to be funny, most often. The models were on the big side. I gave the books to Bob and his best friend Dougie, who was working with us this week. In the afternoon, I walked into the backyard and saw them drinking Mountain Dews and examining the picture. Cheers. "This one here's got pretty little titties," I heard Dougie say. He has red hair, an ex-wife, and a 3-year-old daughter. Today I broke a rake, a shovel, and a hand. Every tool that was placed in my hands. A lot of centipedes under the house. After I crawled through a pile of cat shit, I decided to call it a day and go home. January 10th. Neil's left some fluid on the bed. It isn't urine. It doesn't smell bad, it's just fluid. January 11th. Again this morning I found fluid on my birthday blanket. This time I rubbed Neil's nose in it and put her out for a while. She makes a habit out of everything. January 13th. My phone has been disconnected, so I called Southern Bell. The woman I talked to said that it would stay cut off until I paid my bill. "But I did pay it," I said. $75 just last week. They couldn't verify it, so I went through my trash and found my receipt inside a can of lima beans. It was covered with rust-colored juice. The woman at the phone company addressed me as David Sedaris until I couldn't stand it anymore and corrected her. That always happens. They think I'm a woman. A woman named David. January 14th. Lisa, Bob, and I drove on ice to see Body Heat. It was nice of them to invite me and go out in this weather. The problem is that Lisa talks through everything and loudly. It hardly ever has anything to do with the action taking place on screen. Tonight, in the most suspenseful moment, just as William Hurt was about to open the booby-trapped door of the boathouse, Lisa touched my shoulder and leaned close. "Do you remember how to say this word snowman in Greek?" "Just, I've forgotten it since our last lesson. It was driving me crazy." Afterwards, she and Bob played a game of Space Invaders in the lobby. They weren't haunted by the movie the way I was, and by the time we reached the car, Body Heat was, for them, forgotten. January 19th. Today I dug ditches in the cold rain after work. I met James at the laundromat. He's black and a bit older than me, and these are a few of the things he said. "I bet you're 16 years old. I just like to be nice and meet new people. I love all kinds of music. I am in South Carolina." "Why doesn't your wife do the laundry? Aren't you a family man? Don't you be lonely living here alone? I've never met anyone like you." I gave him my phone number because he wants to cook me dinner. January 23rd. James called last night at 1. He was looking for an Amalgo station and asked if I wanted to come along for the ride. I was awake, so I said okay. He pulled up a while later in a blue car that had 4 doors and was new and clean. We drove for almost an hour to all the stations he knew were closed. Then, 4 blocks from my apartment, we went to one that was lit. It was 2 a.m. and when we opened the door to the inside where you pay, a camera flash went off. They do that because of theft. Afterwards, James talked about prison life. He's never been, but was stopped once for speeding by a state trooper and said it was the most terrifying experience of his life. The Hardee's on Edenton Street was open, so we went there and he bought a medium-sized Pepsi. We drove to Apollo Heights to look at his house, but we didn't go in. James lives with his brother, but will soon move to Foxbridge, a new apartment complex for middle-class black people. The rent will be 3/4 of his monthly salary. When James's older brother was killed in Vietnam, the government sent someone to inform the family. That was in 1967. His mother worked in a school cafeteria, asked him a million questions, and he was good about answering them. "Can I trust you?" he asked in the front seat of his car. "I wouldn't if I were you," I told him. He asked if we could be friends, and I said you shouldn't ask things like that. It sounds too third grade. If you're meant to be friends with someone, you'll be friends. There's no need to talk about it. James asked a lot of questions a person shouldn't ask. Back at the apartment during sex, I thought about a lot of different things. My new trash can, for instance, with the pedal. I was 1,000 miles away and wishing I'd never answered the phone.